want in a drug. So let's jump right now. His conclusion. Hundreds of millions of human subjects have been treated with ivermectin for curative or prophylactic purposes worldwide over the last 3 decades. Human subjects. As well, in yellow down below, taking into account all the above, the author of the present analysis of the available medical data concludes that the safety profile of ivermectin has so far been excellent in the majority of treated human patients, so that, in pinkish part, ivermectin human toxicity cannot be claimed to be a serious cause for concern. End quote. Conclusion, ivermectin, extremely safe, very well tolerated drug. So I think a lot of hopefully this puts to rest any of the conclusions that people have been drawing lately that ivermectin is unsafe, or that it's not for humans, or that it's in some way been linked to bad outcomes, or in the cases I've seen people getting more hyperbolic and saying that it's killing people. The review of the literature says we don't have even a single recorded case of that at this point in time that's been conclusively demonstrated. Causally demonstrated or temporally associated, sure, but we don't have that direct mechanism yet. So that's what we see there. And by the way, let me just put this all in context for you real quick. In the discussion here, he said as well, this is from the discussion of the paper, the present extensive review of adverse events reportedly associated with ivermectin treatment for therapeutic or prophylactic purpose did not reveal any significant cause for concern. Indeed, with the notable exception of patients with parasitic diseases such as onchocerciasis or loa loa, serious adverse events temporarily associated with ivermectin were very infrequent. In fact, adverse events were mainly mild to moderate and infrequent. This is confirmed by results reported in patients with scabies or human beings without any ongoing parasitic disease, where we see almost no impacts. By the way, let's just put this in context. I went over to Vidya Access, which is maintained by the WHO, and you put in ivermectin. Let's see what we get. Oh my gosh, we got 5,644 adverse drug reactions, ADRs, and you can see them all listed here in this big list, and that's what we see. But we're seeing 5,644 adverse reactions over what time frame? Decades. So this is just a small clip. In fact, we can notice that 44% of all reported ivermectin side effects have been reported in just the past 2 years, and it's been out in this database for 40 years. Prior to this, there were almost no reports coming in for a long, long, long time. And so this is when we see a 1, 1, 5, 1, 1, 5, 10, stuff like that. This is with hundreds of millions of doses being administered and distributed in that yearly period. So how do we put that in context? Well, we could compare this to paracetamol. And over the same time frame, we saw that there were 5,644 for ivermectin as compared to 168,074 adverse events for paracetamol, which did include deaths and things like that. So you can see all the different things that show up under paracetamol, aka Tylenol. So we tolerate Tylenol. You can just walk up to any, in this country, in the United States, you can just buy it anywhere you want. Nobody says anything. You're very concerned. Pharmacist will not try and talk you out of it. You can just go up and get it. Just based on this right here, which is not a fair comparison because we don't know how many doses of each we'd have to put it on a per dose basis, but I'm pretty sure ivermectin is going to compare very, very favorably with paracetamol on an overall dose for dose basis, obviously, because if we ran a similar tox report like this for paracetamol or aspirin or any of these other things, we would find a lot more in terms of the side effects, the severity of the side effects, the drug interactions, impacts on target organ systems, teratogenicity, all of that. All right. So what is my conclusion here from this review of the ivermectin toxicity? And I'm just going to spread this out so it doesn't interfere with that. First, it's extremely well tolerated, with adverse events being described as infrequent, if not rare, and mild to sometimes moderate. But serious, there's not a lot of serious adverse events in there. There have been no recorded direct deaths to date. There are very few drug interactions to report. We have an extremely favorable therapeutic index, which means, again, we're dividing the toxic dose by the effective dose. So we're looking for big, wide range there, with the toxic dose being much higher, a much larger number than the therapeutic dose. Overall, ivermectin, I have to tell you, this is among the very safest of drugs I've ever studied. I looked at a lot of drugs over time as part of my studies. I think any safety concerns that are currently arising right now are misplaced. And that's my conclusion from reading that really excellent paper by Jacques Decote. He did a fabulous job.